It's now time for Matt and Dan in the house of... Hello everyone, welcome all to Matt and Dan in the house of...
Wow! Hello everyone. Welcome.
Well,
Episode
episode 3 now. I mean, we've come a long way. We're already 3. So this is good. At least we got to episode 3. I think we're making progress.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right, so again, welcome to Matt and Dan House of Quark. And of course, you could be watching us here on our Facebook page at M&DHQ, or you could be listening at Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Radio Public, or Breaker. So again, we have been branching out. And an announcement as well to all our fans out there, if you're listening or watching us, we branched out even further, apparently. We just had an email confirmation now that we're actually on Overcast and Pocket Casts as well. I'll be honest, I've never been on them sites before, but definitely go and check them out. So that's Overcast and...
Look at us getting out there.
No, on all sorts of platforms, which is great, of course. Spreading the word of Trek out there across the world. All right, let's basically...
Before we start, Matt, I just want to say I want to show everyone my latest T-shirt, if I may. There we are, nice little Trekkie symbol with the Enterprise there. So that came this week in the post. I thought I'd just share it with everyone who's watching, and for those who are listening. Hey?
Can we ask where you got that from?
Yeah, I got it from a website called QWERTY.com.
Okay, cool.
QWERTY, yeah.
What? I don't know what I said. I said something completely wrong.
QWERTY, as in the keyboard, QWERTY, but like T is spelled.
Okay, I get it, yeah. Cool.
But yeah, you can check those out. They do a lot of different designs and stuff. I'm not plugging them, so. But for those who are listening, yes, I've got a Star Trek T-shirt finally, because I realised I didn't have much in the way of clothes on Star Trek, and I know you've got your hoodie on, so
yeah.
There we are. I thought I'd just show that to everyone. That came in the post this week.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
And it suits. It looks great on you, I've got to say.
Excellent.
Very dapper.
They even put a little bag of Haribo in for me. So.
Wow, that's nice. Fair play. So yeah.
Anyway. I thought I'd just share that before we get going. But anyway, let's get into it.
So basically what we're doing now. Okay, so it does say episode 2 on there, of course, because we are actually carrying on from episode 2. Probably should have updated that, but whatever. So yeah, we're on of course episode 3, but we're carrying on from episode 2. So this is part 2 of this part of our program, of this podcast itself. So we're going through, of course, all the Trek series, chronological order. We started off in the last episode, of what did we start on? We started, of course, on Enterprise, that's the first one. We got all the way up to the animated series. We did the animated series, and now we're on the Next Generation. So, of course, as we mentioned last episode, we're talking about theme tune, of course, the ship itself, captain and crew, episodes, contribution, of course, to the Star Trek timeline. So let's have a look as well. There's the timeline, as I said, Enterprise, Discovery, original series, animated series, and now we're finally on the Next Generation, Star Trek, the Next Generation, of course, from the year 2364 to 2370. Okay, so I think it's time to get started with the Next Generation theme.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a look here now. So the Next Generation theme, I mean, it's one of my favourite themes anyway, so I'm quite excited to actually...
I am looking forward to this. I've not heard it in a while, so...
Here we are then, here we go. Right, and so we're going to get the theme up now. So we'll watch this together, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so here we go, Next Generation theme. Right, and so that was, of course, the theme tune to, the Next Generation Star Trek TNG. Thoughts on the theme tune?
It's been a while since I heard that. Yeah, for me, like it's like you said about the original series theme tune. For me, that is Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
It brought a lot of childhood, memories back. It is Star Trek for me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking actually, obviously, because you've got Patrick Stewart saying space, the final frontier.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, that is Star Trek. I know William Shatner does it, but for me, like I think
Mm-hmm.
I prefer Patrick Stewart saying it. I think, especially when I was little, like I would hear Patrick Stewart's voice.
Yeah.
He's just got like a distinct voice, isn't he? Such a deep voice, and it really like grabs you. Not that like William Shatner's, you know, is terrible or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just prefer Patrick Stewart saying it.
Well, I see it is literally what it says on the box. It is the next generation, as is the idea of, as we said, you know, it's, well, first of all, obviously, they changed the script, obviously. The script says it's continuing mission. It's not a 5-year mission anymore. You know, the original series was a 5-year mission, and now it's becoming a continuing mission. It's a mission that hasn't finished. It's a mission that's keep going. It's a continuing mission throughout space, you know, everything. And not just, obviously, exploration is everything. To learn everything, to learn what it is to be human, to learn what it is, you know, anything, a racial thing or to engender, anything like that. It's a continuing mission to explore and discover all those different things. And I definitely think that's an important thing to highlight there. And also as well, you know, as I said, the next generation, we've moved on. You know, it's no one has gone before. It's not no man. You know, you can argue, of course, they do mean man as in, obviously, mankind, which I strongly do believe that is what is intended by that. However, you know, that is a feminist approach on the next generation as well, whereas they've changed it from man, they've taken out man and gone, well, no man, no one has gone before, you know, and that's it, and it unites everyone, you know, a lot more than it did, of course, with the original series.
Yeah.
But I think even the theme tune, you know, you can see it's a massive step forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It links in with what I was going to say next. It's a very grand theme tune. It's very big. It's sort of evolved from obviously the original series theme tune. It's more grander, like in terms of instruments and you know, the scale of it all. It's like it's much more adventurous. And it goes back to what you were saying about it's a continuing mission now. So like it's sort of saying, for me, I think of it as come and join us on our adventures. Much more, you know, it's a much more bigger theme tune that I think really grabs you and makes you want to watch it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I always thought that you know, for the time it came out as well, I always still to this day get quite amazed with, you know, the effects as well of the time. I think with that series, definitely, especially the opening.
Like as well as it sort of it has the same sort of the ship whooshing past and then like the actors' names coming up. That's the sort of, obviously that's, you know, obviously with the original series one as well, it keeps that, which is quite nice. But like you say, it's the next generation. It's now 80s rather than 60s. It's jumped.
So what do we think about the actual ship itself?
The grandest entity. But again, it is what it goes back to what I was saying about obviously the theme tune evolving. It's the ship evolving, and what we were saying last week with the Enterprise, obviously with the NX-01. This is like I mean, I know they're different classes of ship, but obviously the NX-01 is the NX series. Kirk's Enterprise's Constellation. Galaxy class is Picard's, isn't it?
Yes.
But it's a grander. It's more grand. It's more bigger, and it's brilliant. It's designed obviously to be bigger and better, and the next generation. It's like I say, for me, like growing up, like that is what Star Trek is. You know, sort of aboard Captain Picard's Enterprise. So.
I think as well. I mean, look, like I said, the whole thing of it's moved on a lot from the first season, from the first Enterprise. As well, I mean, there's a lot more things hasn't. Like for instance, it obviously introduced the holodeck, which I think was a massive part of the Star Trek franchise as a whole. I mean, the holodeck, of course, is a great way of exploring all sorts of things. Of course, it was a place that they went to relax and unwind, but also was a place to challenge things, understand things a lot. A place for Data to go to explore, obviously being human. All sorts of things happened in the
training as well. They do like simulations.
Yeah, and of course simulations as well. So we had that part with it. The holodeck. I can't think of Star Trek without a holodeck. It's one of them.
Yeah.
And you have to remember they didn't have it in the original series.
That's the thing, and like there's so many good holodeck. Not just in Next Generation, but in obviously DS9 and Voyager.
Yeah.
There's some really good holodeck episodes around.
So that opened the door. That opened the door to also, and if it wasn't for that simple idea, like someone, it's the idea going like, if I'll be honest, I'm not sure if Gene Roddenberry came up with this idea. I don't know if there's someone out there can message and let me know who came up with the idea of the holodeck. I actually really would like to know. I don't know. But I think it's a brilliant idea that it opens, like I said, it opens a door. It's a simple idea of a room or a deck, whatever, a room you literally walk into and you can be anywhere at all, anywhere. That's the thing. It is virtual reality. You can be anywhere you want, and that's opened so many doors, and it's inspired so many different episodes.
And technology now, like with virtual reality, we have virtual reality, and you could say, I mean, without the holodeck, could we have virtual reality? I know we don't have holodecks yet, but obviously we have things.
No, I know you're saying. No,
it's brilliant, but it is interesting. Like you were saying about like different places on the Enterprise. Obviously, you've got 10 forward as well. And what I like about it is obviously it's such a broad, big ship that even like families are living there. There's a school.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We didn't have that in the original. Now like families are aboard, like coming along on the adventures and stuff. So I love the Enterprise. Whenever we talk about Star Trek and you mention the Enterprise, I always think of Picard's Enterprise. For me personally, you might think of obviously Kirk's, but
I do think of Captain Kirk's, if I'm honest with you. But I'm on the microphone trouble here. I do think, of course, of Captain Kirk's. Do apologise. But yeah, I do 100% see what you're saying.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's just big and broad, and that big massive saucer section. I love the episodes where they like. I love how the you having mic problems.
You carry on talking, Dan. I'll be back.
Okay. Now it's just you and me, viewers. What I was going to say is I love how the saucer section can detach from the rest of the ship and become another ship, and you've got the battle bridge. I love that aspect to the Enterprise there. So there we go. As we just wait for Matt to sort out his mic. Maybe you agree. Hopefully, let us know if you agree with me on that point. There we go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There we are. He's back.
Right,
classic Matt, that is.
It does happen, unfortunately. I need to get a better stand.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. No. So I think the ship itself, fantastic design. It uses, of course, the same design as the original, so it's still keeping that lovely disc sort of shape, and it's just and the bridge as well. And you got to think as well, how it's come such a long way through, like you said, technology-wise as well, and it's inspired real technology in the world. I mean, I love that part you said about obviously inspired. You could argue inspired virtual reality, and I do think Star Trek definitely, of course, has inspired technology in the real world. Of course, the original series, the flip phone. A lot of people argue, of course, that started in Star Trek. Even Captain Picard is obviously basically the it's the iPad, isn't it? It's the idea as well.
iPads,
The iPads. We obviously didn't call them iPads, but
no.
it is an iPad. Loads of things, of course. And I do think that holodeck is a really good example of inspiring.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Virtual reality, definitely.
Yeah, and like I said, there's so many great holodeck episodes out there.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I do think Next Generation is what brought that in, and it's opened so many doors just for simple idea of just walk into a room and be in anywhere that you want to be. So yeah, the ship. I think we both absolutely adore the ship. I love its bridge as well. Amazing bridge. And I said, did you just see the comparison between the original and Next Generation? It's exciting. It's like, wow, Star Trek is really becoming something really nice and great. And yeah, you got to think. I mean, we're not children of that time. Unfortunately, we were born a lot later. Well, it's not unfortunate. It's just the time we were born, whatever. But I mean, it'd be interesting to see growing up at that time and seeing like, wow, that's come a long way, since the 1960s. So definitely, oh yeah, we're very happy with the ship in Star Trek, of course, the Next Generation. Okay, so moving on, of course. And we're talking about now. So we talked about, of course, the theme and the ship. What else do we talk about now? What was on the? Here we go. So we are. So of course, the theme, the ship, the captain and the crew. So thoughts on captain and the crew? Start with you, Dan.
Captain Picard. Wow. There is that sort of age-old question: like, do you like Kirk or do you like Picard? For me, I would say I would like Picard, just because, again, Star Trek is Picard for me. And I think I'm such a fan of Patrick Stewart anyway.
Yeah.
I've seen him in other things. I even got his autograph. I got his autograph up there. I also got his autograph actually outside the new theatre in Cardiff, because I saw him in the play, and I met him afterwards. I'm such a big fan of Patrick Stewart anyway. I think but as Captain Picard, I think that is obviously his most iconic role. And wow, what a captain! Like,
100%.
You don't want to cross him. He's very, very well cultured. He knows a lot. Very, very well educated. And yeah, very good at. He's a very good leader. I would say out of all the captains, he's probably one of the better leaders. He knows how to deal with people. And he does. I mean, he does develop sort of as time goes on, obviously, a more friendly approach. But I think very much in the early series, he's very sort of, I am the captain. I love Captain Picard. I think he's someone that you can definitely trust, and that you would definitely want on your side. I would say.
No, he's not. He's a very strong character as well. He's a very strong character. I think for me with Captain Picard, I think again it's this whole idea of the next generation. Captain Picard, what made him completely different than Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk, of course, he was the all-American, I guess conservative white man who went around the galaxy, of course, and he made sure that his way was the right way, or he got things sorted. Whereas Captain Picard, of course, he's all about conversation and negotiation a bit more than.
Yeah,
Captain Kirk, of course.
He's more like let's be friends rather than join the Federation or I'll bomb you. Do you know what I mean? It's
Which, in a way, I mean, you could argue, of course, Star Trek's meant to all be about, of course, being analytical on the world around us, the real world around us, and I guess in some ways you could argue maybe that is to show how the world itself has moved on from the past. As in, well, obviously, I understand. Visual series is set in the future, and the idea is, of course, all races and genders all live together, and and we are united Earth, and you can argue that. However, as well, I do think there's another element in there as well, which shows the next generation being that we sort things out not always by force. Force is not always the answer. It is time to talk and talk about like that, and that is definitely what Captain Picard, I think, definitely.
Oh yeah, like I say, he wants people to talk, and he's very good at. There's quite a lot of good examples of where he tries to. Jonathan Archer did this very well as well, actually. I would say is getting other races to talk. There's like episodes where the Enterprise would be a place of meeting for species to come and resolve their differences. And Picard was a very good. I don't know what the word is, but he's a very good mediator. Like do you know what I mean? I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. A very good sort of referee.
Referee. Okay. Yeah.
Referee isn't the word that I was trying to think of, but that's what I'm trying to get at.
What you're getting at. Yeah.
Very good at doing that, sort of bringing races together and making them talk and be friends. He's very good at that.
And of course, Captain Picard, but the people who work under Picard, or the crew, I think, again, the next generation, is the idea of you've got a Klingon who works for the Federation, that, wow, time's moved on. And that's what it's all about. As I said, that's another element within Star Trek that really shows, that the worlds can move on and get along with each other. And again, I think having, Lieutenant Worf there, head of security, it just shows that unfortunately people do have history with conflicts all over the world and even all over the universe, of course, of Star Trek, but we can all get along, we can all move on from our past and do great things together, I think
as well, because it's like it's not now, like you said, next generation, it's not just humans on a starship, it's more races, I mean, even the characters that weren't like the main cast, like the blue guy, with he's blue. you know the one that I'm on about.
He's not an Andorian?
No,
blue guy.
He's in like a random episode, I think.
Okay. No, I can see your point, though, and I'm sure I do know what you're talking about. I'm probably just.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's in Next Gen.
Yeah, or something. I do need a picture or something. I'm like, oh yeah, again, oh
yeah. I don't know his. I don't know.
I see what you're saying, though. No. You got.
Like, you've got Klingons now serving on the Enterprise,
and they were the enemy. They were the bad guys. Captain Kirk was terrified of Klingon, and they were terrified of him. That was the idea. That it was Cold War in space. That's what it was, and it's the idea that they've made peace, and that shows throughout the franchise. And there's always tensions, of course, with the Klingon Empire and the Federation. Of course, there is, but they always find a way of getting along. It's always a way. Which I definitely think that's what it is. It's the next generations moving on from our past, and doing great things together.
Yeah, and another thing as well is the somebody I wanted to bring up was Councillor Troy.
Yeah.
Now we have an actual councillor on, not just on board a ship, but like as part of the bridge crew.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important, but also like the role of women as well. I think obviously you've got Dr. Crusher. There was Tasha Yar, who was security before Worf. So like a female head of security. You had Dr. Pulaski from season 2, who I really liked. I really liked her, but a lot of fans I know didn't really rate her. But I'm quite a fan of Dr. Pulaski. I thought she was very clever, very clever. Obviously, I love Dr. Crusher. I think I'm glad that she did come back. But I mean, so I'm saying, like, obviously it wasn't just obviously in the original series you had Uhura, you had Nurse Chappelle, but now we have more women, not just on board but like on the bridge. Do you know what I mean? So
I really getting at. Yeah. Of course, of the original series, obviously had Lieutenant Uhura. Of course, was a black lady on the bridge. But 100%, what you're saying though, there's more women on the bridge and all these parts of the ship. There's more races on the bridge and all these different parts of the ship. Even alien races. In some ways, the original series. I guess you could argue a lot of people, especially a certain doctor, might have been a bit racist towards a certain Klingon, not Klingon, sorry, a Vulcan, sorry. So, could be racist towards Spock, of course, a certain Vulcan. Which I think showed, that there was sort of not necessarily a problem, but there was still a bit of tension, not necessarily. Yeah, I say, but still a bit of racial tension between humans and Vulcans, even though they did carry on. And I think Dr. McCoy shows that a lot. That there was some tension between him and Spock. I mean, not necessarily hate. I wouldn't say hate, but he always commented on his ears, and his green blood. So you could argue, well, hang on now, is that right? And I guess in Next Generation we move on from that. You see less sort of stabs at other alien races and things like that from humans, and I wish you did I see in the original.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we were saying last week about the first episode, where it was sort of the individuality and the inclusivity of Star Trek is brilliant, especially obviously with what's going on now. I think I mean, there's no need for us to bring that up, but
no,
but just it's a big collaboration. Do you know what I mean? It's
and that's
Starfleet isn't just all about humans. It's sort of about everyone. It is a united federation of planets.
Yeah. No, definitely, 100% agree with that. And I think the cast itself and the captain and the ship, it really does show. I said it is the Next Generation. It is moving
Next Generation,
and on a continuous mission as well. It's not just for 5 years. Right then. So of course, moving on now. Any particular episodes that we liked or want to talk about in the Next Generation?
Oh, so many episodes. One episode that I will say, for me personally, is it's probably not necessarily a big episode or a pivotal episode, but it's an episode called Data's Day. Some people might remember in episode 1 I said that Data was my favorite character. Data's Day is basically an episode that's basically narrated by Data, and I think it was just, you've got different elements of him sort of trying to obviously become human and sort of learn. I mean, I think he's he gets asked to become Chief O'Brien's best man or something like that. He learns to dance. Wants to do comedy and stuff like that. I think that's the gist of it, and it's just what I love about it most is that it is just narrated by Data.
The idea of writing a diary is a human, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's actually a letter to Dr. Maddox. Some new Trek fans might know from Star Trek Picard. Or for those who haven't seen Picard yet, sorry to spoil it for you. But yeah, for me, Data's Day is always an episode that sticks out, just because, like I said, pure and simply, Data was my favorite character, and it's an episode that's narrated by Data. And there's other things in the episode that go on. I think they get attacked by Romulans or Klingons or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that it's narrated by Data, I think that is one of my favorite episodes that sticks out for me. That pure and simply.
So my favorite episodes I want to talk about. So first of all would be Q Who. Okay. Now
another Q episode. Who doesn't love a Q episode?
Again, a brilliant another character, of course, they introduced to the franchise was Q, and Q is just perfect. It's brilliant. It's just. Oh, it's great. And again, I can't go into it too much because we'll have to do a podcast on Q, I think. I think we have to, not a whole podcast.
Yeah, I think there should be an episode on Q.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Not a whole podcast, just on Q.
The Q podcast.
Yeah.
Somebody else can do that.
Yeah, but we'll do an episode on Q.
Do an episode.
But anyway, so Q-Who, of course, that was the first time that we saw my favourite villains of all time, my favourite villains, and I think definitely the best villains to ever step out, in my personal opinion, out of Star Trek, the franchise. And I'm a person who loves the original series, as you know, but my favourite villains, I think. Yeah, I do love, of course, I did mention the Breen 2 episodes ago. I do love the Breen, but these to me are fantastic villains, of course, is the Borg. And it's the first time we saw the Borg, and it's just the first time you hear it. Resistance is futile, and we are the Borg, and that is that became such a big, just iconic. Such a big catchphrase. We are the Borg. Another catchphrase added to Star Trek. Not only do we have "Beam me up, Scotty," we've also got "We are the Borg." And this.
Resistance is futile as well is another one.
Yeah, and it's brilliant, and so that's one of my favorites. And Q-Who, of course, and I think it's the first time we see the Borg. But also, I like to talk about technically 2 episodes, because it does cross over 2 episodes, and it's the Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and Part 2. And that is really where Patrick Stewart gets his acting skills on the way, and he really explores Captain Picard's, his human side, but also his Borg side, because, of course, Picard becomes the one only Locutus of the Borg.
Locutus of the Borg, yes.
So I think as well, it really does explore the idea of, obviously, the Borg's all about all being part of one collective, and they all obviously follow the Borg Queen in the hide, very much like bees, of course, drones. The bees are called drones, of course, and they do go to the hide, and they do work as one, one army, or whatever you want to call it, one station. And I think it's the idea of Captain Picard, a well-loved character that we all love, and we all fell for, and then he's become one of them. He's become the enemy. They made him into a Borg, Locutus of the Borg, and he's attacking. They're using his knowledge as well, that he knows about the Federation and Starfleet to attack them. And there's nothing he can do about it. And there's one thing as well about Captain Picard throughout the whole franchise, and especially, I don't want to ruin, of course, Picard, the new series. It really does follow that he always still had the Borg inside him after that experience,
Yeah.
So I really, I really think if this explore the difference between obviously being human and being free, and then explores the other side of being sort of contained to one rule and one thought system, and basically no freedom at all.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 things on that. Is I think obviously very good episodes there. Those 2 episodes, I think, really sow the seed for future storylines and future series, not just in Next Generation with the Borg, but obviously in other series as well. It really sows the seeds for obviously in Voyager. Catherine Janeway, she looks back over when Voyager enters Borg space, she looks back over Picard's, sort of diaries and logs and stuff. And I think, because obviously, definitely those episodes, it really sows the seeds and actually not spoiling Picard. So as a contribution to the whole Star Trek timeline, those 2 episodes, definitely very important. Very important, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing I was going to say was, you talked about how Patrick Stewart found his acting skills and stuff. I would say also Jonathan Frakes as Commander Riker in those episodes. He really sort of tries to come into his own, obviously with Picard obviously aboard a Borg cube. Obviously he's in charge and stuff, and it's Riker's very
also won awards for great drama. It wasn't just a science fiction; it was great drama as well. So you're right. Absolutely brilliant. Performance-wise, well, from the cast of the Next Generation, brilliant. Oh yeah. Anything else on the episodes?
No, that was just those 2 things that I was going to say about best of both worlds. Yeah, and who doesn't love a Q episode?
Oh yeah, who doesn't?
Yeah, and Day to Day is again just a fantastic episode for me. So.
And of course, just the quick one as well. The contribution, of course, to the timeline. Well, yeah, you need it. It's what continued Star Trek at the end of the day.
It is what carried it on. It's what brought it all back, really, isn't it? It's you know, like you said, the Next Generation. It's like Star Trek's not over, and it's I mean, it is the first in obviously what we were saying about it being the golden era of Star Trek.
It's the opening of the golden era of Star Trek, and again,
for many people that I know and many fans would just consider Next Gen DS9 and Voyager as Star Trek, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
So obviously to have that beginning and first series to watch, you know, Next Generation is fantastic, and obviously it was the first Trek I watched. So very, very important for me to become Trek. It's what got me watching Star Trek. So yeah, very important. Yeah, like I mean, just as the original series did, I think the only thing I would say is Next Generation really sort of again sowed the seeds for what's to come later on in Star Trek. Really.
Yeah. No, I mean, if it wasn't for Next Generation, we wouldn't have as well. The spin-off series which we're going to get to now. Next Generation, of course, is relevant to the timeline. I think it's continued the timeline, and it's grown. Well, it's helped it grow even more from the original. Right, so yes, that's TNG.
That is TNG.
Right, and so if we have a look now, of course, at the here we go, the presentation. Whoop, there we go. So, of course, talked about TNG. We're now going to move on. There we are. Let me show it on the screen. It'll be better so everyone can see it.
Yeah.
So our viewers can have a look at it at least. Here we go. So, let's have a look. See. So, of course, the Next Generation. We're now going to move on to Star Trek Deep Space Nine, or some people call it DS9. Of course, starting the year 2369 to the year 2375. Okay. Right then. So, what we need to do now. So, I'm going to stop that share. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go and we're going to watch the intro. What's the opening theme?
I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, so here we go. This is the opening theme to Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Here we go. Fantastic.
I tell you what, I'm currently I've nearly finished the original series films, and I know that already that I'm going to rewatch DS9 after I do that, and I can't wait. After seeing that, it's been so long since I heard that.
So yeah, thoughts on the theme
well, as previously mentioned, obviously DS9 is my favourite, and I would say also it's my favourite theme tune. But there's a few things that I love about it. One is, whilst it is a Star Trek theme tune, obviously it has similar instruments and things to say the Next Generation theme tune. The fact that it's a much slower tempo compared to obviously the original series and Next Generation, it's a much slower tempo, and it still sort of draws you in. Obviously the Next Generation, I was saying about how it's a big, exciting theme tune, and it's like, oh, it's very exciting, it's very adventurous. But I also think the DS9 theme tune also really sort of grabbed you. And I think for me, like, my opinion is it's not just a Star Trek theme tune. I think it's just also a very, very, very great piece of music.
Yeah.
Like, for me, that I could put that on whilst doing a yoga practice or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, or just sort of listen to it as something to relax me, or you know, I mean, I love DS9 anyway, because I was obviously saying about, you know, how much it means to me, because obviously I was watching it when I was very sort of homesick and anxious away from tour. So every time I hear that now, I think of how it calms me and relaxes me. And like I say, it's just a very good piece of music. It's not just a good theme tune. It's a very good piece of music in
definitely.
itself.
I think with DS9, first of all, I like to think of it from the point of view of the people who were viewing it at the time. Of course, what happened to the talking, man? There's no it's the final frontier. What's all that? Well, what's going on with that? He's taking that out, So that again changed things up again. It's gone. Oh, actually, no, we're not going to use that whole speech now. This is, it's not actually relevant for this opening theme. I also like the idea you said it's relaxing, because the way I see it, and I think the word relaxing is quite a good connotation to use there as well. It's quite a good idea of describing it, is because I get the idea, because Star Trek Deep Space Nine has this more sort of laid back, sort of mild feel to it, as in, not necessarily it's not dramatic, it's very dramatic. A lot of drama happens, of course, on board the station. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm trying to say is, though, it is just it's a place people live. It's a place that people work. It is a community at the end of the day. And a lot of people have called Deep Space Nine, oh, it's just some soap opera in space. And in some respects, I guess it is. But
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I think.
I love that. And what I'm trying to say is the idea of yes, it is more laid back, because this is not a place of it's not a space exploration ship, or it's not a warship. This is a place, of course, people work. It's a space station. People come there to rest. People are there, obviously, and also trade. They're there, or they go to have a beer. This is a place for people to unwind for a bit. It's basically it's a service station in space. Like going to Reading service stations, getting yourself a Greg's pasty. But people live on this station, and work and they said as we said in the previous episodes, it is like a family as well. So I'm getting the it opens this whole sort of relaxed atmosphere that they do have on board, because while conflicts are happening throughout the universe or throughout the galaxy, whatever, Deep Space Nine marches on. It just came out of occupation, and all that, and it's the idea that the common man sort of thing, the working class, or they carry on. Quark carries on. They all carry on. They have businesses to run. They've got lives to live. And I definitely think that theme tune really does sort of bring that element into it as soon as you press play, to watch. I really do think that. And I like the idea you said relax, because I think that really does show. Because, everyday life, you can argue, of course, things happen in the world. I mean, a lot of horrible things happen in the world. A lot of great things happen in the world. At the end of the day, that is the world. That's life. However, majority of the time, of course, the world's not full of that much action. You go for a walk down the park, you go for a walk up a mountain, whatever. Nothing's happening around you. You may see people feeding ducks in a pond. You may see people just relaxing. I do think that's what's happening mostly, is people are not actually doing that much, but that's what makes us human. That's what the world is about. We are just sort of kind of links to, I don't know, plays like Waiting for Godot, what are we waiting for, sort of thing, is that idea that nothing's happening. We are just, getting through time, and things happen, which things happen in Deep Space Nine, but I still get that element of people can just, they just live their life. Different, I think, from the others. I know the others obviously do have them episodes, like you said, with Data's diary and all that, but however, I think Deep Space Nine takes that even further. It's just normal life in space. However, there are political things happening all around them, but they're still carrying on with their life, which happens. I mean, during the war, of course, in World War II or in World War One, people did have to try and carry on. We're in a pandemic now. People do have to try and get on. People have to try and entertain themselves. People have to smile. People have to laugh. And I even though horrible things are happening, we have to carry on, and find ways of being human. and I think that's what Deep Space Nine really does show.
Yeah.
Music from the theme tune. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. You hit the nail.
Yeah. Sorry, I know I went on a big one then, but you know.
No, I totally agree.
So I do apologize. What it is, I keep forgetting the list all the time. Right. So theme tune, of course, the ship. It's the space station, really.
Yes. Although there is a ship later on. Obviously, there's the Defiant.
The Defiant, of course, and Defiant is I don't know. It became one of my favourite ships as well. Actually, the Defiant has.
I love it.
Yeah. But
let's just focus on obviously the.
Yeah, I think the space.
Tarak Nor, as it's.
Yeah, of course, yeah. No, you're right.
Cardassian name.
Well, it's Cardassian design, of course. Again,
yeah. It is a Cardassian.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about the obviously the shape, and I mean it's very an iconic shape.
Yeah, very well designed. Like, I mean, it's not like your normal space station.
No.
Sort of like if you look at the space stations sort of in the original series films and stuff, and obviously the other space stations you see throughout the. Obviously, I know it's Cardassian, so obviously it will be different to Federation, but it's very.
It has to be, it is an alien design, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, but like very well designed, obviously, and it's very cool. Sort of you think of a space station, and it's like this, the big sort of dome sort of shape, and the fact that it's one thing I love. I mean, obviously the exterior is great; it's very cool looking. But I think for me, the interior is just brilliant. The fact that it is just one big sort of shopping arcade, or like I mean, only you and I would know about this, or like people who live in Wales, like sort of how you go into like the side arcades in Cardiff.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of that. You've got like Quark's Bar at the end, like you've got Garrick's Tailor Shop, and you've got like
the high street. The promenade is a high street, isn't it? Yeah,
I love that there's like a promenade sort of high street in like a space in a spaceship, and I love that. And obviously then you've got also then people living, in the big ring things, and like in obviously the rings.
Well, yeah, not only a place to shop, it's a place to live, isn't it? People do.
Yeah, it's also people's homes.
Yeah.
I guess not just homes, sort of guest quarters, or sort of like a hotel. I guess I don't know. Maybe people did sort of visit and stay over or whatever.
Yeah.
So I love that there's all that sort of combination of not just obviously places to trade, but obviously places to live, and it is basically just going to St. David's 2 in space.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
For me, that element is great, but also it's very it's a very cool exterior as well. The fact that ships can dock there as well. Obviously, in Voyager we see in the first episode of Voyager it's docked at DS9. It's very cool. It's obviously a place for traders to come and trade, and it's not just obviously a place to live and work and visit. It's obviously a place to trade, and it's what I'm trying to get at is it's a very cool looking hub.
Yeah, it's a hub. Yeah. I think the design itself is very iconic. I think a lot of people who are not even I don't know much about Star Trek or even Deep Space Nine. I think a lot of people know that it's from the Star Trek franchise. They look at it and go, "That's Star Trek," somewhere in the Star Trek franchise. So it's a very iconic shape. The Deep Space Nine.
It might not be Federation, but it's you know it's Star Trek.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
You know that it's Cardassian.
And as you said, of course, a place people trade. It's like a hub because it's a place of pleasure as well. Of course, everyone goes to Quark's to have fun. That's why we name this program Quarks as well, of course, because it's a place of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it explores all sorts of things. I mean, you also have holodecks as well on Deep Space Nine. People actually pay, of course, to use, and they use.
Yeah, which is great, and obviously because with I'll let you expand on your point, but like with TNG, obviously it was just there to go and use, but like obviously the brilliance of it is that it's like a novelty.
Again, it is sort of it talks about all different sort of things, what people do in their downtime, I guess. I mean, a lot of people use it maybe for sports or fun things. I mean, some people even explore sexuality in there as well, as we know, using the holodeck. So again, it's the idea of what people are doing, I guess, in their downtime. They're not working, they're not trading, they're having a drink, and they're doing whatever they want to do in Quarks. And sometimes it is either playing a game of sport, or even, as I said, it could be exploring their sexuality or something like that, you know, which I think is a good point to have, or good one to talk about. And also, I like how it has those elements in there, because it shows, as I said, they are the common folk of the Star Trek universe living their lives. And it's interesting to see how they use the holodeck, and how the holodeck is a place of, well, it's a place, of course, Quark can make some money as well. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think the brilliance of it is it's obviously, whilst it is all those things, it is also where the Federation sort of
negotiates and things, isn't it?
Yeah, negotiates and also sort of do their. It is also a spaceship in that there's a bridge, you know, there's an engineering, there's a sick bay. So it is also a ship, you know, where Commander Sisko and eventually Captain Sisko commands from and be's, you know, the leader and stuff. So it's not just all those things of shopping and trading and stuff. It is also a starship.
Exactly.
It might not necessarily be a starship. But it is.
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say.
I know exactly what I'm trying to say. I mean, you know, like you said, you know, it is a place of political conflict as well. As you said, of course, it is governed by the Federation. Of course, after the occupation. But I think it's the idea as well that how the common folk fit into everything, how they're dealing. With
that's a good point. Yeah.
Galactic conflict. So not only, as you said, you have all these big conflicts, war, the Dominion War, they were, part of that, but people had to carry on, people had to serve beer, people had to open shops and, was a place of pleasure or whatnot, and that carries on. That's what my point is. While a lot of things are happening in the world, all sorts of, things, the common folk has to carry on, has to find something to carry on, which I do think is important to highlight, and I think DS9 really does show that, definitely.
All right then.
So we're going on. So Captain and the crew.
Captain and the crew.
Or we'll say crew, and any other character, I guess.
Characters, yeah.
Yeah, we'll say.
Well, let's start with, obviously, it's quite unique when we first sort of see him. He's not a captain yet. He's commander.
Commander, yeah.
Then obviously he does become captain. I love Sisko. I think he's the fact that he challenges Picard in the first episodes. I think you've got to be very brave to stand up to Captain Picard. But then I think also you've got to be very brave to stand up to Commander Sisko. But again, he has all the right elements of a leader. He's a very strong character. And one of the only things I want to say about Commander Sisko is that he's very good at politics. He's a very good politician. Obviously, that comes throughout the Dominion War, sort of trying to get allies and stuff, and sort of trying to lead the Federation through this.
Well, the wormhole aliens chose him. The prophets chose Sisko.
Exactly. So I think very good emissary.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He becomes the main man, isn't it? I mean, it's the idea. It's interesting you said obviously he was a commander, and the character development of Cisco as well is very powerful, I think, because it starts off, as I said, he's a commander. He doesn't even want to be there. He doesn't want this job. You know, he has to drag Jake with him, his son, and he doesn't want to be there. He's just lost his wife, you know, in the war. And in some respects, it's all thanks to Captain Picard, of course. I know Picard, of course, was Locutus at the time, but it still plays a big part, which, of course, the first episode, we do see that. We carry on from that episode. We carry on from that point in TNG. But I do think the actual character development of Sister, I mean, he ends up obviously becoming very passionate about the space station, which he obviously decides to stay. He becomes a captain, of course. He works his way up the ranks. He becomes a captain. He is now officially captain in Starfleet. And then he ends up, as you said, he becomes the chosen one. You know, he becomes a man who's lost. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He's just lost his wife. You know, his job has just sent him to this crazy space station in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't want to be. And suddenly he becomes pretty much a godly figure of himself. He becomes someone, you know, so important. I mean, he discovered the wormhole. You know, it's his. He discovered that, you know. And that's what I mean. He comes from sort of a minor character to such a massive impact across the whole, of course, of the Federation and the whole franchise.
I also think he's a very good role model as well, for everyone, and I think he's very, I would say, because it's interesting you said he's got Jake as well. He's very protective of Jake, and I think all he does want to do is sort of he wants Jake to be okay. He wants Jake to be in Starfleet, but he respects his decision not to go into Starfleet, and I think he tries very hard to, like, you know, be a good dad, and all he wants is, you know, Jake to be protective of Jake. And when he meets Cassidy, you know, one of his I guess goals is to just be a happy family, and I think that then spreads over to the rest of his crew. He is a very good role model.
Yeah.
He is very good to look up to. Not just obviously on the space station, but the Bajorans look up to him, as you say. So yeah, very good role model.
Not just in Star Trek. I mean, this was he's a black captain. He's a black leader as well. You got to think that is what's great about Star Trek. As I said, it does talk about the world around us, and Captain Sisko not only inspires people, as you said, he does inspire people in the actual fictional universe. But also people who watch the show. You know, it's the idea he's a black man in charge, and it does explore things like African culture or African American culture as well. It also explores well, you know, like there's episodes where you know, the episode where he's back in time and he's a writer, science fiction writer.
Yeah. Good episode.
You know, yeah, exactly. A fantastic episode, and it talks about so much, you know, of how much mankind can move on from a dark past. And he, like I said, from from a very small figure, you know, he's just a commander. He becomes, you know, the captain. He becomes one of the most important people ever in the Star Trek franchise. And the fact that he is a black man, I think, is definitely an important part to highlight, and it really shows how Star Trek really does promote the importance of that issue, and the importance of you know, it's good to have a strong hierarchy figure that is a black man, you know, and definitely I think it's inspired lots of people all around of all different races, that, you know, and I think that's the beauty of Star Trek, definitely. Yeah. Crew wise, like any other characters?
I mean, you could talk so much about the DS9 thing. Two people that I had in mind. I said in the first episode that my favourite character was Rom. Mm-hmm. So I've already spoken about Rom. But who doesn't love Quark and Rom?
Yeah.
One character that I absolutely adore is Garak. Who I just think the fact that he was like this, you know, part of the occupation, and he was this baddie Cardassian, and now he's working in a tailor shop, hemming women's dresses, as he said. I think it's fantastic. He's a very good, I love Garrick. I really do. Like Ron, he's a bit of a comic relief.
Yeah, he is funny. Yeah.
I do like Garrick.
Human side, though, doesn't it? It shows the human side of Garrick. He, like I said, his past, but now he's fitting dresses or whatever in a market. Yeah. So it's great to see him in it.
He's very interesting. He has a lot of good episodes, and he sort of, whenever I saw the actor's name come up in the credits, like he's going to be in the episode, it's yes, it's a Garrick episode. He's got a lot of funny one-liners as well. One that I love is when him and Dr. Bashir are removing, like, I think it's like a body or something. They've just like made someone faint or whatever, and they're carrying a body and stuff. Dr. Bashir goes, "If I didn't know better, Garrick, I'd say you were enjoying yourself." And Garrick just goes, "Oh, not at all, Doctor, but after spending many years of hemming women's dresses, this is a welcome change of pace." And it's just like, it might not be a funny line, but it's so Garrick. You know what I mean? It's, he's hemming women's dresses, but he still have fun on that.
Yeah.
So I love Garrick, but I also wanted to just touch upon Chief O'Brien.
Yeah.
Because we see Chief O'Brien in TNG. And well, the only thing on Chief O'Brien is I just love how they did make him, and Lieutenant Worf as well, actually. They did bring them over from TNG and sort of to explore their character arc.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say on them, really. We got to find out more about Chief O'Brien, like obviously, his arc with his family and stuff, and like what he's like as an engineer, because we never really explored him much in TNG. But what they did with him in DS9, I really liked, and like I say, the fact that they continued the character arc on in DS9 and for Lieutenant Worf as well, I really like.
Yeah.
I'm going to say on it, really.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and especially, Chief O'Brien, definitely a character to talk about, of course, because we said we saw him in TNG, and he wasn't a massive character, was he? He was, and then he's become, well, one of the principal characters, definitely in DS9. For me, character-wise, well, I mean, I said DS9 is all about, I think, characters, all about different characters all living together. One character that, to me, is what DS9 is all about, and I don't know if you're going to get surprised. I'm going to say this, but it's.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Come on.
It's Morn.
Who doesn't love Morn?
He doesn't say anything, but that's the beauty of it. He doesn't say anything. He just sits there and he drinks all day. But that's what I mean. That's what it's all about. DS9 is. It's just staying in one place.
The perfect life thing.
Getting on with life. And that's it. While everything's happening, all different conflicts, Morn, he will always be in that seat. I know, obviously, the episode, the death of Morn, I know it's a bit different, but, it's the idea that Morn, he literally just sits in that seat all day, having a drink, while all these problems, it doesn't matter what's going on, he doesn't care, and that's the whole point, though. It really has become, I think, an important part of the Star Trek, of DS9 anyway, just to really show how it is about the common folk just getting on with it. And I think Morn is to me, definitely an important character, and also funny as well. I mean, there are times Morn does try to speak and no one lets him talk. So, I think, Morn is definitely a character to me that I always think about. I don't know what it is about him, but it's just so unique as well. And he is part of the furniture of DS9. He's such a small character, but I can't think of it without him. Really can't, because it's just funny, and it's just it's just brilliant. But I would say, yeah, I'm just going to talk about Morn. I think obviously in future episodes I'll talk about more characters, but I think for today I'm just happy leaving it there on Morn myself.
Awesome.
Right then, so episodes. Any particular episodes?
Yeah, the only episode I want to talk about is, well, obviously my favorite episode. I have previously mentioned it in episode 1 when I said about Ron being my favorite character. And it is, funnily enough, we were talking about holodeck episodes earlier on in the episode. It is a holodeck episode. It's I think it's called Take Me Out to the Holosuite or something like that.
Right. Okay.
And it's where they all play baseball.
Yes. Yeah.
Gates that I think the Vulcan captain who knows
Cisco.
Commander Cisco, yeah, challenges him to a game of baseball. And what I like about it is it does like I always prattle on about the sense of family, but it is literally just like the family getting together and having. It reminds me of like when you were younger and you would sort of go on holiday and you would play games and sort of like for us, I always remember going on holiday to in a caravan, and we'd play cricket or whatever in like the fields and stuff as a family and that, and it kind of reminds me of that in a weird way. I know it sounds silly, but that's what I associate it with. Like the different characters not necessarily being good at baseball, but they're just there, and it's like it's a lot of fun. Like they're just there to have fun. They also really want to win it for Cisco, and they try their hardest to win it for Cisco. And what I like about it is Cisco does take it very seriously. He does kick Rom off the team for being useless, but then at the end of the episode, he sort of realizes, well, it isn't all about winning. It's just about having fun with your family or with your friends. It's just getting out there and sort of exercising and socializing. So he puts Ron back in the team, and all right, they lose the match, but they still took the match. Yeah. So that's why I like the episode. It's just it's a very, again, just comforting, family oriented episode. And it's funny as well because I mean, as mentioned in episode 1, it's got my favorite Rom line in it where he goes, "Captain Cisco hates me." So for me, my favorite episode is Take Me Out to the Holosuite. I think I watched that episode twice in like one day or once, or like I watched it one day and then I watched it again the next day just because I loved it so much.
I think that episode's very good as well. It really important point. I think it really shows Captain or Commander Cisco's sort of his child self as well. Because this is a guy, well, I know from it was the Starfleet Academy, but this sort of rivalry. And there's quite a childish element, I think, in there, which I think it's I think it's quite nice. It really shows again this whole more of a human side to Cisco, but also it's just this. I don't know, it's just this child element in him. He still gets competitive over games with this Vulcan. He basically went to school, and he gets everyone involved in there, So no, I think that's definitely a good episode to talk about. There, it's a funny episode, it's a fun episode, and again, it's as we talked about, it's the family values in it as well. It's not a conflict as in an intergalactic conflict. It's a conflict about literally, an argument they had at school, basically.
Yeah, and an important point I'll just put this in quickly. The fact that it takes place in season 7, which is the height of the Dominion War.
There we are. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Yeah,
it is a welcome change of pace from the Dominion War. It is like they just forget about. It's like I was saying, like season 7 is basically just one arc about the Dominion War.
Yeah.
But then you've got episodes like that just chucked in, and it's a good break.
No, I agree. I mean, for me, episode wise, it will have to be the episode. Well, basically, what is it? It's when Quark's shuttle malfunctions and he crashes in Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh yeah.
I think it's called Little Green Men. I believe that's what it's called, because that's basically what they were, Little Green Men.
I know the episode, yeah, because Odo turns up, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah, Odo does turn up, yeah, because Odo obviously sneaks on the shuttle
sneaks aboard, yeah.
Yeah, so with that episode, what I liked about it was one thing Star Trek does, which I think is brilliant, is that it always tries to, even though it's a piece of fiction, it tries to make it factual in some shape. It tries to become part of our world, whereas it does try and connect to things from our past to try and link it to Star Trek. And that's what I like about it. I love the fact that obviously the UFO sighting or crash, whatever, in Roswell. Obviously, loads of different conspiracies about that. People believing it was, I think it was a Russian weather balloon or whatever it was, something like that. However, it's the idea that that's a mystery that not many people can get an answer to. But I just love how Star Trek uses that and links it to the Star Trek universe, and it's funny as well. It's fun. It's close to home. It's set, obviously years before our time now. I know that, but still, it's still a lot closer to home, and it's just fun. It's also interesting to see how the human race really would respond to, Ferengis, back in those days, really. I guess it's a fun episode, and it's a great way, I think, connecting Star Trek to the real world, And again, one thing Star Trek does is play on time travel a lot. And that is one of my favourite episodes. It does play on time travel because it's fun, it's exciting, and I said it connects to our world, which I think is important part of Star Trek. Ryan, so yeah, we are now close to episodes. The contribution to the timeline. Thoughts?
I mean, obviously, with the whole Dominion War thing, obviously, it's very important. Obviously, it sets up, and there's other storylines like, the Grand Nagus, obviously, Ron becoming Grand Nagus and stuff. So that's quite important. The things with the Klingons as well, they explore. Obviously, there's the Gowron episodes, obviously stuff with Cardassians, and obviously the Dominion War. So I think there's a lot of very important storylines, and it very much sort of makes the most of exploring obviously Klingons and Cardassians and sort of obviously we saw them a lot in TNG, but I think for me it was very good at sort of bringing those characters and species out further. So I think the contribution would be we just got a further exploration of the nature of Cardassians. Obviously with the what's the word? I've forgotten the word. Occupation of Bajor, sort of what they were like, and stuff like that. So my point is the fact that DS9 was very good at sort of taking characters further. It goes back to what I was saying about Chief O'Brien, like taking it further, taking the Klingons further. Just extending.
I think what DS9 does, as you said, the idea of extending, but not only just that, it also talks about different history that went on in the Star Trek universe that we may or may not have known about in TNG and the original series. So really, I think as we talked about DS9 being a lot about not much happening, a place that people discussion. They do talk about history and things that happened, like you said, the occupation and all sorts of different things that happened around the universe. So I think it really does give more depth to Star Trek, which is...
And especially with the wormhole as well. So like the wormhole that leads straight to the Gamma Quadrant is like, again, another element of space and another element of Star Trek.
So definitely, I think it contributes to the timeline in a way of even it makes the timeline thicker. I think it gives it more.
A good way of looking at it.
100%. All right, so what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are going to call it a day again. But wow, we have, I think we've really got through some stuff today.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot, and I think we've brought up some really good points. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this episode.
I think what it is, me and Dan have decided we're going to stop it here because we know Voyager, again, is another big one. It's part of the golden era Star Trek with TNG and DS9. So we think we don't want to rush through it. So obviously, there's a lot to talk about. So we'd rather just sort of rest up, stop it there, and then we can go through it there as well. The next episode we can carry on, of course. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I get tired. Yeah. We do get tired on this, don't we?
We just have to talk about Star Trek so much. So.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so thanks everyone, of course, for joining us. If we just have a quick look as well, just at where we are as well. I think that's important. Here we go. Here we are. Oh, there we are. So let's have a good look. See, so of course, we talked about, we've gone quite far now. We've gone up to, we're on Voyager now. So next, we've done Deep Space Nine. Next, of course, is Voyager. So from the year 2371 to the year 2378. And then, of course, we will be touching on Star Trek Picard as well. So 2399. So that will be on our next episode. Don't forget as well to, of course, follow us on our Facebook. That's M&D HQ, M&D HQ. You can watch, of course, our web, our video episodes on there, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Radio Public, Breaker. I also got as well brand new ones, Overcast and Pocket Casts as well. So if you are on those platforms, you can follow us on there if you wish. I'm sure we'll be on more and more things as the time goes on.
Matt will just purse on everything until we're on pretty much all of the sites.
The more, the merrier.
The more the merrier.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys.
Like in true Star Trek fashion, the more the merrier.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, boys, thank you so much for joining us. As me and Dan always say, live long and prosper. Bye for now. Thank you.